All right, so what else do we have trending on Twitter? Oh, Kanye.
So I myself
Right.
don't really listen to Kanye, but I know
I know somebody who does. Somebody who is the
Connor.
expert on Kanye.
Yep.
All right, so maybe we'll switch seats here. Connor,
Give me the mic.
welcome to coming on the set. So Cameron, you going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Connor and Kanye?
No, Connor's been listening to Kanye since like day one. I could only try and
If
Stay at his
Kanye
level.
ever goes missing, people, police
Connor's
should go
basement.
right to Connor's house, I would think. And that's not a bad thing. He's probably just Kanye's biggest fan. So what do you think? The new album?
Well, Tom's got to unmute me first. Or maybe I should stay muted because this is going to be a long
thinking
conversation.
You might stay muted. No.
I'll fill in for Connor. I personally did not enjoy the album
You didn't
as
enjoy
much
it?
as, or I thought it was very overhyped and super. Oh, it's gonna be great. Making a new album. Gonna be gospel. It's gonna be revolutionary, and I just don't think it lived up to the hype that it would had around it of being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and then it's just. This is all right.
All right, Connor, you look frustrated
So,
with Cameron's response.
Of course, the background on this is that Kanye West has, as we've been covering on the show for a couple weeks now, has been promising his new album, Jesus is King. It is a gospel-infused album, and he's delayed it multiple times. But we finally got the release date Friday at noon. So it was a little bit late, but I think it was worth it, personally. I disagree with Cameron. It was, I respectfully disagree with Cameron. It was a gospel album through and through, and I think a lot of people weren't expecting that, despite the fact that it was, titled Jesus is King. The production was amazing. He has a full choir of very talented people. Cameron himself, I'm going to throw Cameron under the bus. We were talking about it before we went on, and I said, Cameron, how about that intro track? Because it's this.
I will admit that was a good intro.
It was
track. I'll
this.
give
It's
Connor
this
one.
soaring, like, new age gospel number. Like, there's no rapping on it at all. It's just a choir singing. And I was like, wow, that was a really stellar track, huh, Cameron? And Cameron was like, I loved that intro track. So.
Wow, Cameron. Backing
Right.
it
But
up.
can I
beep,
also
beep,
comment?
beep, back it up
Can
the
I
track.
also comment that we all love Kanye here, but is he also the best guy to be making a gospel album spreading the word of God?
He's a born again Christian. He said on his Zane Lowe interview that he was very strict when making this album. None of his producers he said don't have premarital sex when we're making this album. That's true actually. He said it on his Beats One Zane Lowe interview.
We're going to have to look that up. Okay.
He's a little bit of an eccentric. I think everybody knows that about Kanye at this point. But I think the album came together. The only qualms I have with the album, I was a little underwhelmed in some points. The mixing was very bad.
Now, why would a guy of his stature and his legendary music ability produce a sound quality issue? Is he doing it? Is he doing it because we're talking about it and all publicity is good publicity, or what is it?
I mean, I don't know. Like, the thing is, it was supposed to come out Thursday at midnight, right? It was supposed to drop, basically on Friday. He delays it and puts out a tweet at 10 in the morning saying we need to go back and we need to remaster some tracks. So I say, okay, whatever, we're used to this by this point.
So in today's day and age, people are making albums and releasing them the same day? It's not like the old days.
Well, Kanye is notorious for that. He was, for a couple of his previous albums, Yeezus, he was literally clearing samples for the album hours before the album was supposed to come out. So he's very notorious for this. But Yeezus was a well-mixed album. There was no sound quality issues. But when I was listening to Jesus is King, I thought my headphones were broken.
Well, that can't be good.
The audio clipping was too much, and I don't know. For someone like Kanye, you can't.
Now, did he release a vinyl version of it?
He did.
Or is it all just on iTunes?
He released a CD and a vinyl version of it.
And can you get it on iTunes?
Yeah, it's on iTunes and Spotify and the whole bit. But John, it really pains me to say this, but just because of the mixing quality and I liked the album, but I wasn't in love with it. I don't think I'm going to buy the CD.
Wow.
And
Did you catch that, Cameron?
Heard it here first, folks.
Oh, yeah, I was
I've
going
bought
to say, yeah.
all of Kanye's CDs up until this point, but I don't know if I can
This is the
justify
jump the
it.
shark moment for Kanye West. Wow.
I might do it later on if I get a couple more listens in and I'm really liking it, but
You think he fixes the quality, the sound quality?
he's gotta. But he's
It's that bad.
no, like he's a pioneer because in one of his previous albums he said, "I'm going to go fix this thing," and it was kind of the advent of streaming services like Spotify and all that, where you can update an album, which was a new thing at the time in 2015. Because you think about when someone released an album 40 years ago, they couldn't update it.
Right.
When they press the vinyl, it's done, But he updated a bunch of tracks, went back and remixed a couple things. So I can't see him not doing that with Jesus is King.
Now, other than music, are people pioneers? Kurt Cobain, he was the greatest thing. No, he just made some pretty good music. I don't know. Is he a pioneer? Your words. Kanye, he's a pioneer. Is there another field, author, filmmaker, Dunkin' Donuts coffee maker? Is anybody else a pioneer, you think? You know what I mean? Because you often hear that term in the music industry, pioneer. Bruce
Right.
Springsteen's a pioneer, Bob Dylan was a pioneer, but Rolling Stones were, the Beatles were. But you don't hear the word pioneer used really much outside the
Yeah, I
music
think it's a
outfit.
vocabulary thing,
Yeah,
like
okay.
there's authors. What do we say? The last great American novel.
Right.
It was a classic. We don't really say an author is a pioneer in the same way. We say,
Right.
we say
Yeah, there you
he
go.
wrote a classic. A filmmaker is just like critically acclaimed.
Critically
guess.
acclaimed.
Gets an Oscar
Award-winning. Yeah. There you go.
But
All right, so we're
Kanye-
gonna have to talk about this again next week.
Yeah.
Because this is like earth-shattering news that you're not.
Like I said, I'm single-digit listens into Jesus is King right now, which are not very good numbers, I admit. But we'll see. We'll revisit it and we'll see. But on the subject of a pioneer, Kanye's a pioneer, through and through,
Non-debatable.
non-debatable.
All right. That's going to do it for this week's segment on What's Trending on Twitter. We're taking a quick break right here on Good Night. We'll be right back in just a minute.